Welcome to True Crime with Strategic Eyes.
Strategic back again. What's going on, guys? I had a whirlwind day today, guys. And unfortunately, none of the things I wanted to do, namely get some rest, ended up happening. So I've decided to end my night by recording, pre-recorded, my reaction / analyzing the interview that was done with stepdad, Stephan. We already did a breakdown and we already analyzed the bio dad, Tyler Wallace. Go check that out. Please do support that show. I was very passionate about it because I spoke about some of the personal issues that I had dealing with an absentee father. And I believe, it's my opinion, and if some of you disagree, that's okay, that unfortunately, because I do have a great deal of empathy for the bio father, for Mr. Wallace, that he lost his daughter. I mean, at the end of the day, he lost his daughter. Although I have a lot of empathy for him, I do feel that he in some way failed Maddie in a way that I described in that video. And my purpose of doing this show is to be a voice for Maddie. There are so many good true crimers out there that really do a good job just laying out the facts and staying objective. That's just not my spirit. This is not a space for me to do that. I have an arena where I have to just do that. That's where I have to be. My mind has to be in that objective space. When I come here, I guess I'm doing a channel called True Crime with Passion. I get to really show all that bent up. I'm like breaking up a little bit just talking about it, but I get to express all that bent up passion that's inside of me for advocating for children, advocating for adult victims as well. That I can't show in my everyday life because I have to maintain that objectivity and be professional. And I try and be professional here as well, but I show my passion. And if I offend anybody, I apologize. But this case really has hit me in my heart. How could it not when we listen to all the horrible things that Madeline Soto went through in her short life, you know? She never really knew true joy. How could you know true joy when the world introduced you to so much suffering at such a very young age for such a protracted amount of time? Maddie really is my hero. I said it before in a different show, but she is probably one of the strongest people any of us probably could have ever met, because even though she suffered so much under the hands of Stephan Stearns and the neglect of her mother. And I think it's pretty clear now that her mother neglected her. And I think it's pretty clear after I broke down the father, the bio father in the previous video I did, using his own words, that he neglected her as well. She still managed to smile. We have a ton of pictures of her smiling. We have a ton of people who said she was an amazing person. She still managed to show that pure beauty that she was blessed with, that she was born with, that the Creator gave her, regardless of what you may believe, the universe, God, whatever, she still managed to show that light. Even though, from what we can tell from the evidence in this case, every single night she went home. What they say the evidence said, 4 to 5 days out of the week, when Stephan Stearns was living in that house full time, he would abuse her. Every day. Think about that, guys. Just think about it every day. Some of you can relate to it. We have so many survivors, victims, and warriors that watch this channel. You could relate. You know what happened. You know how this child suffered. If it doesn't break a person's heart to think about Madeline Soto, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. It breaks my heart. And that's why I keep coming back for more. I keep hammering at this case, because I won't stop until Madeline gets justice, until either Stephan Stearns go to trial or he does the right thing and he pleads guilty and he takes whatever the DA decides to give him and he gives us absolution, which is justice. As I said before, Madeline Soto belongs to all of us. Your children are your own. My children are my own. Your children are your own. But we live in a society that says that if your children are not being taken care of and you're not protecting those children, they become all of our children. That's why we have child protective services all across this country that removes thousands of children from their parents every single year. Because, yeah, they're yours, but they belong to us as a society. They're vulnerable. They are our future. They belong to all of us. And the fact that so many people failed Maddie, she became all of our children, our child, rather. She became a child of all of ours. If you're an adult and you're in an abusive relationship, you don't call the cops, there's no agency, there's no government entity that's going to come into your home and remove you from your abusive boyfriend, because you're an adult and we know how bad domestic violence is. That's a different conversation. We know the psychology of it. But my point is that regardless of how terrible domestic violence is and the psychology that goes with it that might make you feel like you can't leave your abuser, there's no government agency that's going to remove you unless you cry out for help, or remove your abuser unless they get caught doing something criminal. But if you treat a child bad, there's a ton of agencies that will come take that child. Why? Once again, because the children belong to all of us. And we all have a duty to Maddie. So that being said, I'm going to start this video, and we're using GrayHughesInvestigates audio. We'll use his video too. We'll put that up here. Let me put that behind me. Let's listen to what Stephen has to say. Let's do it.
p.m. We are at the Kissimmee Police Department. Reference to case number 240-1896. Person present are myself, Detective Morris, Detective Smallwood. And your first name?
Stephen with a V.
And last name?
Young, Y-O-U-N-G.
All right, before we get started, can you just raise your right hand for me? Do you swear and affirm that the statement you're about to give is the truth, nothing but the truth, to the best of your knowledge, so help you God?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. I have a feeling you know why you're here, why you came to Florida and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. There's an investigation into a young lady named Madeline, her death. Okay. Throughout the investigation, we spoke with Jennifer, Madeline's mom, mm-hmm. and she said that you and her were married at some point. Mm-hmm. Do you remember when that was?
We were married on March 14th, 2015. I can remember that because it's Pi Day, 3.1415. We divorced, I think, in 2016, maybe 2017. It'd be in Kissimmee Records, though. It was done here in Osceola County.
All right. Now, I never listened to this before. Just like when I reacted to Bio Dad Tyler Wallace, I didn't listen to his interview prior to reacting to it. Well, I listened to some of it, but not all of it. I have not listened to one bit of this interview, so we're going to be reacting to it real time. I hope they get into why they divorced. That would be nice to know.
Okay. Where did you meet her?
Online, OkCupid.
OkCupid is like a dating site or something like that? Okay.
Website. Yeah, it's like pink and blue and before Tinder and all these apps came out and stuff. Yeah, I met her on OkCupid. Can I take out my phone? I took some notes on dates that I could remember.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for you guys to be asking about how long I've known them and stuff and whatnot. I think I met her around summer of 2013. Yeah, we were married March 14th, 2015. And I think we divorced somewhere at the end of 2016, beginning of 2017, somewhere in there. But again, I know it should all be in Osceola Records.
That's fine.
So it was a very short-lived marriage. It didn't last too long. That's interesting to know.
And when you guys were married, did you live here or did you?
We lived in the apartment where everything happened.
Okay, so in Venetian Bay.
Yeah, it was her, Maddie, my daughter, and me.
Okay. Did anybody else live there at the time?
Juan. Her dad.
Okay.
I think he still owns that unit, and he lived there in the bottom floor unit. Maddie had a room, my daughter had a room, and me and Jed had a room upstairs.
So you notice the difference in, and don't get me wrong, all right? To be factual, Maddie was very young, okay? She was very, very young. But notice the difference in the structure of the house when a man lived there, right? In terms of this guy seems pretty normal, you know? Maddie had her own room. His daughter had her own room. The married couple slept together. Grandpa's downstairs. You see, it's kind of like some order and structure, unlike how things kind of ended up once he left. I mean, kind of got discombobulated, and now Stephan comes in and everything. Now Maddie needs to sleep with everybody. But when she was a little girl, for some reason, she was able to sleep on her own. Usually it's reverse. Usually it's hard getting the little kids out of your bed. It's kind of like Maddie did a reversal. Whereas when she's a kid, she's autonomous and she's sleeping on her own, which is contrary to what most of us parents have experienced, because the kids want to stay in the bed when they're young. And then when she got older, she kind of reversed, where she now needed to sleep with people, allegedly. This is what, Jen is saying. I mean, you can believe it or not. It does help her case for her to say that Maddie wanted to sleep with people. You know what I'm saying? It benefits her, and it benefits Stephan Stearns to give an excuse as to why something so abnormal as a preteen sleeping with adults would be. That's abnormal. Now, does it happen? Sure. Do kids get scared once in a while and they want to sleep in your bed? Sure, I guess. Just because my kids don't do it doesn't mean that your kids wouldn't. But it's a little abnormal when, you have a child that's a teenager and people want to make Maddie sandwiches. That doesn't mean that there are Chester molesters and abusers. Like when the bio dad said he wanted to make a Maddie sandwich and sleep with Maddie in the middle and him and his wife. I don't think that he wanted to do anything nefarious to the child. It's just odd that a child that age, that you'd want to do those things with them. That doesn't mean your head is in a space, in a negative space, but it's just odd. But I'm just looking at the differences in these, situations depending on who's in the house. Let's keep going.
What was your and Jennifer's relationship like?
It was pretty good for the first couple of years we were together. She started having some mental health issues, which...
Like what?
She would just get really depressed, and she would just kind of shut down some days. And so I'd just be on full parent duty, just take care of both kids and do the pickups and everything and do the dinner. And I was in school, I was working full time, and it was exhausting. And it just got to the point where her mental health was just stacking up, and I couldn't be there as much, and I needed to take my daughter.
And this is exactly what I said. I said it in a previous live. I said, Jen is a handful. And she can't keep a guy because dudes don't want to deal with this. It's just too much. It's not about being, you're not a loyal guy through thick and thin and all. We have to be practical. Love is practical, and when people fall in love and they make commitments like marriage, it's pretty much a contract, really. And the contract, for the most part, is that you're expecting something out of this situation. And, it's one thing when it's like in an accident or something. Listen, it goes by with different relationships, different people. But I could see and I could understand where this guy is coming from. He's trying to be in a relationship with her. He assumed she was a good woman that was willing to hold up her end of the bargain. And then she just slowly started spiraling down where she just wasn't doing anything. And he is still young, trying to build his life up. And guess what? It's too much. He had to get a divorce. I see it and I understand.
Her out of that environment, and we still co-parented.
And that's another thing. He had to worry about his child too, and I hear that because it's one thing if you guys have a family together and the children all biologically you guys. He has a daughter from another relationship. It's not healthy for his daughter to have to observe what's happening with Jen and the pressure that he's being put under trying to uphold the house. Let's keep going.
Maddie to me is, is my other daughter. I was in her life for 11 years. Me and my daughter, that was my daughter's sister. That's the only close thing she's ever had to a sister. We still have birthday gifts. We talked to her. My daughter and her best friend played games with Maddie every month for years online together. And I talked to Maddie all the time. I'd pop over and talk to her and ask how things were. And I thought she was in good hands. And I know that me and Jen didn't work out, but to me, she was still a friend. And I still loved and cared about Maddie. And so I tried to be a friend to Stephan, too, when he came into the picture. If he's in Maddie's life, I want to get to know this person. So I tried to get to know him some, try to be a friend to him.
Where did you meet him?
I met him through Jen.
All right, so far he sounds like a stand-up guy. It sounds understandable why he tried to form a relationship with Stephan. as well as why he would maintain a connection with Jen. Everything sounds reasonable so far.
I think she said that he had met him through a real estate company that his parents had at the time. I don't remember positions they had there.
Okay.
But she said she's involved with him, and I loved Maddie, so anybody that's involved in her life, I wanted to know. And so I tried to get to know him, be a friend to him. We started connecting on like tabletop games and stuff. Like I was into D&D. I think he's introduced me like Star Wars Legion and this Robomech game. So like I tried to play some of those with him and stuff. We went and shot guns before. I looked it up. I think we went to Tanarak. It's on the way between here and Tampa. That's a public shooting range down there. But he was just so commercialistic. And
What do you mean?
He just always wanted to buy the next thing. And like when I would invest in a game, like I just want to play the game for a while. Like I've been playing the same D&D game with my sister for 2 years. It's the same campaign. Like I like playing the same thing and not reinvesting in new stuff. And he was always the next thing. And we got in a little like argument one day. I went to visit them down in Northport, and I essentially called him a sellout for always buying new shit. And kind of had a little tantrum, and then we just kind of stopped talking after that.
When do you think that was?
It was.
I mean, wow, that's how nerds battle, I guess. Now I'm just joking. It's perfectly. I'm actually interested in Warhammer 40K. I'm not playing the tabletop stuff, but I like the lore, like the whole stories. Like you go on YouTube and you can listen to audio books and lores and describing the characters. I think it's because I'm a sci-fi guy, and Warhammer 40K is basically a sci-fi genre, and it's pretty interesting. And that's the same game that Stephan Stearns plays. Now he plays the tabletop. That's a whole different animal. Not saying for better or for worse. I'm just saying he's a tabletop guy. I'm just listen on YouTube and mellow out, listening to a story and an adventure in that world, in that universe. So yeah, I'm just joking. It's okay to nerd out a little bit. I nerd out a lot. But it's interesting why they had their falling out, because he basically called Stephan out on his rampant spending. And that's another thing that comes out. Like, where's Stephan getting all this money? Where's he getting the money from? Because he's like never employed, but I have my theories. And the theories are not just the usual theory that he was selling CSAM and stuff like that. I don't know if there's any evidence of that. I think a lot came out that he would steal money. And I didn't say anything because I was always talking about other things, but you guys know I have no problem giving compliments when compliments are due, even for evil people. Maybe I picked that up when I was spending so much time working in a prison system. And so I get desensitized on the horrible things that people do. But in all honesty, Stephan Stearns was a very talented artist. One of the things that he did is he painted the Warhammer 40K characters, and that could command a lot of money. It actually is a business. There are people that spend a lot of money on ordering, sets that are custom painted. In fact, all the sets are custom painted for the most part, but not everybody has the patience to paint it. I tried to paint a character before and it came out horribly. So what people with money will do is they will order a set and then they will pay somebody to paint it for them. So that might be a way that Stephan Stearns was making his money, by actually painting Warhammer 40K characters. I think that might be a way. It's almost like a small business that he was making money. Let's keep going.
It was before COVID, because I think that, if I remember correctly, she moved back up from Northport during COVID. So I think it had to have been right before then when they were down there.
Did they live in a house or?
They were in an apartment. We visited them once.
Okay.
But there was an apartment down there that they had in Northport.
Okay.
But yeah, me, my wife, and my daughter all visited them, because we're always trying to keep the girls together, because they're each other's siblings, they didn't have any biological siblings. So
yeah, this guy got married quick again. I mean, these people be jumping through relationships. By the way, I just checked my phone. We had 72,000 subscribers, man. I appreciate everybody. I know it's a pre-recorded show. It's not a live, but I just want to let the audience know, whoever's watching this at whatever time you're watching this, that I really do appreciate the support that we're getting on this show. We just crossed the threshold for 70,000 subscribers yesterday, and now we're already at 72,000. You guys are amazing. That's 24 hours, 2,000 new people. Thank you so much. Just keep going.
Their own. And so whenever we could, we try to keep it together. And I've tried to talk to my daughter to see if she can remember anything.
Just so I'm clear, that Jennifer is not the mother of your daughter.
No, she's not the biological mother of my daughter. that's a whole nother story. I'm not sure exactly where she's at.
Right.
She's been on the run and not been paying child support for years. That's a whole other thing. But no, I have Jen, who's been like a mother to Ash, my daughter, for...
You know, I mean, listen, I don't know this guy. I'm not trying to judge him. We're just having a conversation. Like, I'm not going to have much bad things to say about this guy. I don't think so far. I haven't heard this. I don't know what he's going to say. But, you know, he seems like a pretty decent guy. And he definitely came off of what I've heard prior to us now going through this now, that he was a positive force in Maddie's life. And I appreciate that as a person who advocates for Maddie, who loves Maddie posthumously, because I didn't know her when she was alive. Who wished that she could have lived. That means a lot to me that he was a positive force to her. But, you know, when you say, you know, mommy's on the run from child support, you know, and you have full custody, wow, that was a bad choice in that partner that you chose. And then you moved on to Maddie's mother, rather, and that didn't last either. It's a larger conversation that we really need to take the time to get to know people before we have children with them and before we marry them. He married Jen relatively quickly. We really, as adults, need to change our culture and our society where we take time to get to know people before we have intercourse with them, before we marry them. And I'm not trying to preach to you adults. You guys do whatever the hell you want to do. It is what it is. But a lot of it is not working. And therefore, it seems to me that our society is in decline. But that's a different conversation. I don't know. I'm just talking to adults right now. I apologize. Let's keep going.
11 years now. And then I have my wife, who's incredible. We call ourselves a nice blended family. We've all tried to help each other out.
That's the young lady downstairs?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we all try to help each other out. We're all friends. I mean, now it's, you know, really hard to look at wedding photos and stuff and seeing some of these people in it. And But sorry, I'm a little venti right now.
Okay.
It's been frustrating, this whole thing, and trying to wrap my head around what happened.
It's a lot. It's a lot. So
sorry, you can ask me what.
That's okay. That's okay. Take your time. I know this is a tough time for you guys right now. So when you would hang out with Stephen around here,
Stephan,
sorry,
no,
Stephen, Stephan, then we have a Stephan that works here.
I just need to hear the name difference for myself.
Yeah. So when you and Stephan used to hang out around here, where were you living at that time?
So we've lived in Williamsburg.
Williamsburg up John Young Parkway?
Yeah, right behind like SeaWorld area over there. I lived in Anderson, I think, when I first met him. That's up in South downtown, Anderson Street.
Okay.
So that would have been January of 2016 that I think is when I moved into downtown Orlando. And I was there for about just over a year. Yeah. And then moved in with my wife's cousin for a few months, and then we moved to Williamsburg. And then we got a house over here in Kissimmee, Southwind. It's off 192, near Medieval Times.
Okay. Yep.
Those houses back there that are almost an acre-ish. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I always wanted to go to Medieval Times. I heard it's pretty interesting. Let's keep going.
And that's where we lived. I think police came and talked to me the other day when they're still trying to locate her body. And I think I gave them the wrong dates. I moved in 2020 to Colorado. I moved into that house in 2020, and I moved into Colorado in 2022.
Okay.
But I was really frazzled. The thing on the news just come up with the update, and they had just shown up like the minute that started, and so I'm like trying to watch. They're trying to talk to me, and I got frazzled. So I think I did give incorrect dates on that the other day. But no, I moved to that house in 2020, and then to Colorado in 2022. So correction on.
That's right. So when you lived at all these places, when was Stephan with Jennifer at that point?
He was, as far as I know, they've been pretty much on for most part of the past 7 years, but a little on and off the past few.
Okay.
As far as I understood,
have you known him to have any kind of mental illnesses or anything like that? That you know?
Jen always said that he had depression and anxiety, and sometimes he'd be short to temper, but she never mentioned that he got violent, because I would ask her, does he get violent when he gets angry? That's a whole other thing. Somebody can get frustrated. Work through it, and versus somebody getting violent, and she never said he got violent. I always asked Maddie, like the first few years they were together, I'm like, hey, how is Stephan? Like, is he treating you nice, you know?
How old was she when they got together?
See here, when me and Jen split up, she was 4. So she probably would have been like in early elementary school, like 5 or 6, right around there. I would, yeah.
And you would have these conversations when she was in kindergarten, 1, 2, second grade?
Yeah, so she would have been about 6 then when he came into her life, I think. That sounds about right. So yeah, I would have been around like first grade and stuff, because I remember I was talking to her, like, oh, you're starting school again, like, and then I'd have Ash talk to her about what it's like to start.
All right, so, you know, he kind of validates what we've been saying. I remember, you know, people were saying that he was, you know, that Stephan had gotten into her life like around, you know, 8 years old or something. But Jen kept on saying that they were together for 7 years. And I said, well, you know, she'd have been 6, and he's validating that. 5, 6 is when he got into this young girl's life. Let's keep going.
Elementary school and help get wrapped up in that. And it's like, oh, well, how's school? How's home? You know, how's mom? She doing okay? You know, because I know a lot of times, like, her grandma would take care of her some days and whatnot. So just trying to check on Jen kind of through the daughter, you know, just see how her perspective on life is and and whatnot. But
when you guys lived together, how was like the dynamic? I know you said you guys shared a room, and then Maddie had a room, and Ashlyn had a room. Is that right?
And sometimes Ash and Maddie would share a room together. I think they had a bunk bed for a little while and shared a room, and then one became their playroom. But it went back and forth. They had separate rooms.
At any point did you guys like share? I know when kids are young, they sleep with their parents and stuff like that. Did that ever happen with?
When I first met Jen, Maddie slept in the bed with Jen.
Okay.
I wasn't comfortable with that at her age.
See, when he first met her, Maddie slept with Jen. He's not comfortable. He puts a change to it.
Unless it was like a nightmare or something like that, then yeah, of course, my daughter can come and join me in bed if she has a nightmare. But I felt like there's a point that like you need to start letting them sleep on their own and self-soothe at night. So I would always encourage the self-soothe, go to bed on your own. And then after we had divorced, or after we had split up and we're on our own, I found out she was back to her own bed, or back to sharing a bed with Maddie again. And I know that like that's the way that her mom always did it. I know her mom, like Maddie was always sharing a bed with her when she was little and stuff, up until I know at least, you know, beginning of elementary school. I don't know if it ever stopped or when, but it was grandma. She'd just go and cuddle with her at night, you know. She would do it with Jen all the time. You know, I didn't do that unless it was like a nightmare or something. I remember one time Jen was just checked out at night and tired, and she was just like, here's the kids, and they both laid in bed with me. But
was that common for her to do?
No. I can count on one hand how many times she was like, I can't, like, they're crying and I need some space tonight, and she'd go to the living room, watch TV, and just be by herself and just be, all right, cool, the kids are with me, and we'll be in bed and just hang out.
So it sounds like you and Jen have communicated frequently since you guys split up because of Maddie.
Pretty often, yeah. I always try and check up on Maddie all the time. Our friendship kind of fizzled out a little bit. We kind of talked a little less here and there as my relationship with my current wife grew. And not because of my wife. Like, they're actually great friends. It was actually my mother-in-law that thought it was weird and started getting mad and stuff. So we started scaling back our friendship for the optics of her family. But
gotcha.
But I was still always checking.
It's funny how people allow their family to get into their relationships. I mean, I get it. I don't know. You know, maybe it's culture, maybe, you know, but I mean, I give you some insight in my life. Nobody gets into my relationship. I'm a man. I make my own decisions. It is what it is. All right. And if there's any issues, I bring it to my wife. We have to work that out together. These outside forces stuff, I don't really get that. Like, you make children, you instill your values into them, you can counsel them, but at some point you have to allow them to live their life. These are grown adults. You know, once again, this is a positive male role model that was in Maddie's life. And, you know, it's not his fault, but it probably would have been nice if he was able to maintain a closer relationship with Maddie by being friends with Jen. Obviously, he sounds like he's a decent guy. He doesn't sound like he would have made a mistake and slept with Maddie like Maddie's bio dad did on his fiance with Jen Soto. I mean, I said slept with Maddie. My apologies. I misspoke, but made a mistake and slept with Jen. My apologies. I hope you guys catch that. He doesn't seem like that type of guy that would have made a mistake and sleep with Jen after they're already over and cheat on his wife. He just wanted to be friends. He wanted to be a positive influence in this little girl's life. And, he also enjoyed being friends with Jen and to a certain extent be friends with Stephan Stearns. But here comes the in-laws like, oh, this doesn't seem about right. Like, oh, this is the optics. And, he had to now distance himself. And now Maddie's isolated again. It's not his fault. It's not Steven's fault at all. It's just circumstance. But unfortunately, the result is Maddie's isolated. Let's keep going.
Check up on Maddie. I talk to her all the time. Whenever Ash was on the phone with her, like I'd pop over the FaceTime and check on her, like, hey, how's it going, and how's school?
How was Jen, when you would talk to Jen on FaceTime or Maddie or anything like that, what was like their demeanor? Was at any point since you left till up to here recently, any kind of demeanor changes between Jennifer or Maddie?
Maddie seemed off for a few years, honestly. And I thought it was just, she's going through changes. It's the teenage years coming. It's the puberty, I remember my daughter going through the depressive stage. Right at the end of, elementary school. But, that was right at the start of COVID and stuff. So I wasn't sure, like, how much is, like, an equal comparison for a mood change. And to me, like, it seemed normal to, like, my daughter was going through. She went through a massive depression through, middle school. COVID, lots of things going on. So in my head, it was just like, okay, she's going through changes. Just keep talking to her. Keep getting the two of them to hang out as much as they can online. We'll get down their floor, see each other soon. Let's see if we can fly them up. Just trying to get more of the family aspect together, and I thought it was teenage years.
Gotcha. How long? You said that was going on for a few years, you think?
Yeah. She's kind of felt like different to talk to since like late elementary.
Because she was a victim of trauma. He didn't know that. I'm not saying this to denigrate him or disparage him in any way. She was a victim of trauma. All this stuff is PTSD. Listen, I believe in science. I guess that some doctors have diagnosed her with ADHD and stuff like that. But my spirit, my heart, so believe what you want to believe. All right? What I'm saying is bias. It's a fly around here. My spirit tells me that all this stuff is PTSD. All this stuff is as a result of this girl being viciously victimized for so many years by Stephan Stearns. How can a proper diagnosis be made on this child without that knowledge? And of course, I'm not blaming the psychologist or the psychiatrist either, or the general practitioner, family doctor for all we know. I don't know. Anybody could write a script lately. But those folks did not have this information. I wonder if they would have given a different diagnosis if they had the information that we have now, that she was a victim of abuse for so many years. Let's keep going.
Preschool. I don't know. Just she seemed different.
Did Jen seem different at all?
Jen doesn't seem different. She's just seemed like she's just always trying to figure out what she needs to do with her psychologist to get by, and it feels like her trying to figure that out with a psychologist is always like an experiment. And I feel like she's trying to figure out what to do to get herself here and to be functioning with her mental health issues. But with all the back and forth with doctors, at least in my opinion, it's just always a game of, okay, try this. And so sometimes she gets a little more checked out as they're trying different meds. And I don't feel
Did she ever talk to you about her doctors or?
So it sounds like she's, he's describing this severely mentally ill person who has not found balance yet. She hasn't found balance yet. She has not found that cocktail that's going to give her some semblance of normalcy. Let's keep going.
Or any kind of different medication?
I know she's been on different medication over the years. I don't know exactly which ones. I know she's tried different things. She's complained about some that have knocked her out and make her super tired. When
did she tell you that?
That she has meds like that? Geez, I've known her for a long time. And she's like gone through a lot of back and forth, with meds. I know I can't pinpoint a specific time period on which one.
Your relationship with her?
No, the mental health stuff started to accumulate more during my relationship with her, and that's when I was trying to get her into more therapy and stuff. The understanding where she was with her mental health took some time with psychologists and therapists to figure out, okay, these are her conditions. This is how we can start figuring out certain meds that may work in some capacity. But that was after I had been there that meds started to get figured out by doctors. It was more therapy when I was still in the house, if that makes sense.
Did she ever talk about Jen now? Did she ever talk to you about more recently that any medication has changed or anything like that would like offset her? Or, some people when they change their medication,
I know
everything just changes.
The only thing I know that she said about her medication recently is there's a nighttime one that just knocks her out. So she takes that one at night.
When did she tell you that?
It must be when I've been recently talking to her about this in the past few weeks. Like this, or it's happened all a week ago. So we saw online on Monday. Yeah.
So she never mentioned that prior to...
Well, I haven't talked about her meds in a while.
Okay.
This is just recently, because I was like, all right, so what's going on? Like, where's your head been? Like, how much do you remember right now, like, with your meds? And
what did she tell you happened? Right from, like, the day that Maddie went missing, when did you first hear about it?
My wife saw it online. I'm not on social media, but she saw it immediately. And so I start calling, and everybody I know in Florida, I just say, please send it. Anybody. And then I was like, all right, everybody outside of Florida, if you know somebody in Florida, send it. And I was just on blow up, just anybody I can contact to share the information online she was missing.
When the first time you talked to Jen, what did she say?
I talked to Jen. It was either that I think it was the next day. I think it was Tuesday. I was finally able to get a hold of her. And I was trying to talk to her. I was trying to figure out what happened. And she had told me... Sorry, I'm trying to remember.
That's okay.
She had told me that Maddie was missing and that Stephan had taken her to the school, but he had made a bunch of stupid mistakes and he accidentally deleted his phone and what the other thing he said, and he forgot his phone, and Maddie forgot his phone, which didn't surprise me. My daughter forgets her phone all the time. But, like, him not having his phone, I felt was shocking, because I remember him I always saw him with his phone. He was always on Reddit. He was always typing away at something. But Maddie, like, that didn't surprise me. Like, a teenager forgetting their phone. And so, like, I call them idiots, like, wait, why the fuck would you do that? Like, now you look more guilty. Like, I thought he was innocent. Like, I thought it was somebody that was protecting Maddie. I thought that they were both, looking out for her, and now I don't know what to think anymore, But
now, was this talking to...
This is what the predators do, man. They weasel their way into your life. They give you a false sense of security, of trust. They make you believe that they would never be capable of the things that they are capable of. I get it. This guy's not in the house. This guy's not dealing with Stephan Stearns on a daily basis. We know for a fact that Jen Soto is not averse to making Stephan Stearns out to be something that he's not. So we go back to the interview with Tyler Wallace, where she's telling Tyler that he's a molecular biologist or something, like a biomechanic or something. I don't know. Something like that, like something that requires a PhD. Like if he really was what she said he was, it was such an outlandish thing for her to say he was. His name should have been Dr. Stephan Stearns, because you're not getting a job in one of those positions with just a master's. You got to get a PhD. You got to have some published work out there, right? So, she didn't say, oh, you know what, he's a mechanic, or you know what, he trades stocks, or no, she went to, he's a super academic. So he doesn't live in a house. He's got his own marriage. He's starting to step back a little bit. Him and Stearns aren't always on the best terms because of, they're arguing over the nerd games and stuff like that. He's not going to know everything that's going on. I get it. I understand now where he would say to himself, you know what? I'm not even going to think that Stephan Stearns is a culprit in this. He has no idea that this is happening, or rather what we will discover actually happened. I get it.
Jen over the phone or text message, or
I think this was a phone call I had with them. I think I called. I finally gotten a hold of her because I wanted to hear her voice, to hear she sounded like when she said these things.
Now, when you were talking to her over the phone, like you said, you're hearing her voice saying these things. What she was saying, was that kind of like her normal tone, or a different tone, or like, how would you describe it?
It sounded like anxious Jen. Like, it sounded like something's wrong, and she couldn't wrap her head around it. Like sometimes she has to take her meds, but you can still like tell in her tone sometimes like how she is, and like I could tell she was a little muted, probably from meds she had to take, but I could tell like her anxiety was at 100. If like even with some mutes, like once you know a person, you can kind of tell like some of their tells a little bit, like just like their pace and their talking is like, I don't know, you're still like amped up. And like I could tell she was like that. He was very quiet. Very quiet.
So you talked to him as well?
I was on speaker in the car.
Okay.
And he was there at the time, and so like I asked him, I asked him, but he like really didn't say anything. She kept just like,
what did he say?
He was like, yeah, she was there, and I feel so guilty, and I can't believe that I left my phone. I was like, well, how the fuck would you do that? Like, it's stupid. Like, have your phone, like, wherever you go. Like, it's suspicious immediately. Like if you don't have your phone as an adult. Like, and he was like, yeah. And then I actually reset it. What the fuck, dude? And that's really all he.
Yeah, I mean, he was trying to set up like his alibi for resetting the phone. But he's stupid. He should have just lost the phone. He's dumb. He should have just turned the phone off and lost it. Just turn it off, or you just turn it off and say, hey, I lost it, but you didn't lose it. You still have it, if that's the case. You just can't turn it back on. When a phone is off, a phone is off. A phone is not contacting with the tower when it's powered down. It just doesn't work that way. I mean, for him to say, he should say, in a panic of all the things that happened, I lost my phone. Well, I don't know at what point he could say that, but he could just say, I lost my phone. I literally lost my phone, man. I misplaced my phone. I took it to McDonald's, and, she said she didn't want to go to McDonald's, and, I lost my phone. That sounds a whole lot better than I reset my phone twice. Immediately, everybody involved, their antennas went up. Steven, even Jen, if she didn't know what was going on already, we don't have no evidence of it, but wow, she's so damn suspicious. Let's just assume she's an innocent bystander who's just the most naive person that ever graced planet Earth. Even her antennas went up when it was discovered that he was trying to spin this narrative that he reset his phone. Doesn't make any sense, but let's keep going.
Mentioned, and then Jen like reset the same thing and told me that he had dropped her off, and she thought that she had woken up at like 8:20 in the morning, and then Sailor was barking to go to the bathroom or needed to go to the bathroom, so she started to get up, but he said, no, I got it. And he was like, yeah, I was trying to let you rest. And then he went and took the dog out, and then came back and said that, oh, don't worry, I'm taking Maddie to school, and then let her keep resting because she was like going through training at a new job, and she was just really tired, and that she had called him up to come help with taking her to school and helping to get the dog and Maddie situated so she can balance the new job she just started. Sorry, I'm trying to remember all the pieces she told me in all that conversation, so it's coming out in random order. What else did she say?
But she told you that she was sleeping, and whatever time it was when she heard the dog barking, she was going to get up to take the dog out, and then, but Stephan took the dog out himself?
Yeah, and Stephan took the dog out himself and told her, no, it's okay, you're tired, don't worry about it. And so she went back to sleep.
Okay. Did she ever mention going the day prior? Maddie had a birthday party.
Yeah.
With grandma.
Yeah.
Okay. Did Jen tell you why she wasn't there?
I understand it from her that she was just so tired from everything from work. And I'll admit, going to her family functions could be a little bit overload. She has a lot of family.
Gotcha. Okay.
They're very loving. They're very loving people. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, notice how he says they're very loving people, but Jen says they weren't loving people for Stephan. They saw right through him. They literally saw right through him. And a lot of people have been giving like the grandmother and other people a lot of flack from Jen's side. I don't really know. Do you guys know something I don't know? Because from what I've seen, Jen is a very difficult person. She barely can maintain relationships. She's picking terrible partners. She's not being a good mother to Maddie, neglecting Maddie, not protecting Maddie. Why are we mad at the grandmother? Why? Because we read Jen's diary and she was mad that the mother was eating steak in front of her when she was trying to lose weight. You know, no parent is perfect. Maybe she felt she's protecting her daughter from going to the Marines. I don't know. I'm not saying it was a good thing to do, but what I'm saying is why are people saying that Maddie's like, because this, you know, I've never said anything negative about Jen's parents, but why are people so mad at Jen's mother? And this is literally me asking. So I hope you guys hit me up via email and explain it to me. Or go in the comment section and explain. Lead me in a direction so maybe I could do a video on it or something. But people are like, oh, she sounds so cold during her interview. It's like, she didn't sound cold during her interview to me. Not at all. She sounded like a concerned grandmother. And it seems like Maddie held her in high regard. Because also remember, a lot of times parents are like, some flawed parents are really mean to their kids. But by the time they get old, their perspectives sometimes change. Not all the time, but sometimes change. And so the grandchildren, or even if their perspectives don't change, they still treat the grandchildren differently because the grandchildren aren't their kids. It's almost like they're extra special because they're the grandkids and they love the attention that the grandkids give them in their old age. You know, it kind of reinvigorates them, gives them like a new run of energy and love and it's like they almost get to recreate being parents all over again with the grandkids. So they get treated differently. I've heard so many stories of like abusive, evil grandmothers and grandfathers who are like saints with their grandkids. Like they wouldn't even lay a feather on them. They loved them. The little kids could go beat them up. And if the children of those parents would have done that, they would have got slayed. But the grandkids do it. It's perfectly okay. I've heard stories of that. I've seen those things. But I don't know why people hate the grandparents so much in terms of Jen's parents. I don't know what they did wrong, and I'd love to find out. But they did not like Stephan Stearns, but they seem to have liked this guy. Can we blame them? Maybe they actually had good taste. I don't know. He seems like a decent guy. I don't know him, but he seems like a decent guy. Much better guy than Stephan Stearns, I'll tell you that much.
Like, I love her family to death. Like, her mom, Yolanda, and her dad, Juan, helped me and my daughter, Ash, so much over the years, even after me and Jen split. So, like, love them to death. But sometimes they're overload. And with all her anxiety, sometimes she just can't handle them for a long period of time. So she'll go and do stuff with Maddie, you know, for her birthday.
Listen, I grew up around Puerto Ricans and Dominicans. You guys know I got Spanish in me too. But in the city, we all a melting pot. I already know what type of parents they were. Like he's saying a little bit too much or whatever. He's not from the culture and he didn't grow up around the culture, I don't think. I'm going to tell you why you always sleeping for? Why you don't get up and get a job? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Why you dropped out of college? Why you can't stick to anything? Why you can't find a good man? That's the type of parents they are. I said it in my terrible Puerto Rican accent. I'm not Puerto Rican. Mocking the Puerto Rican accent I grew up around. I dated Puerto Rican girls. I knew Puerto Rican people. I lived next to Puerto Rican people in New York City and Harlem. That's the type of parents they are. They're very proud. Puerto Rican people very proud, And they're looking at Jen and they're like, yo, you're not doing nothing with your life. All you do is, woe is me. Now, maybe she can't help it. I don't know. I'm trying to be more empathetic because people are saying that I'm just too mean. I'm trying to be more empathetic. Is it working? Plus, I'm tired. I am tired. Lack of sleep this morning, which made me reschedule my live show I was supposed to do this morning because I couldn't sleep. I ended up not sleeping at all. I ended up having to go handle some business. It's starting to catch up with me while I'm doing this live. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm tired. But I know they were going after her for her lack of effort in this life. Her lack of ability to achieve much in this life. They were disappointed in her, I'm pretty sure, and they made her aware of their disappointment, and that's probably where the genesis of the rift between her and her mother at the very least. Let's keep going.
You know, it's happened sometimes. She's gone and done her own thing on a Saturday, and her mom wants to do a big event on a Sunday, and it's just overload for her.
Got it. Okay.
Like, she'll still do stuff with Maddie. It's just sometimes she can't handle the full people, and that would be my guess. I haven't asked her specifically, like, the whole weekend sour.
See, this is Stephan's work back here. You see how, like I said, you know, even the devil could do something nice. The devil was the most, listen, I'm not trying to be religious, you guys. I'm just using it as a metaphor. He was the most beautiful angel in heaven. He was the most beautiful angel in heaven. But we saw what happened after the fall, right? If you're a religious person and you study that type of scripture. Anybody's capable of pretty things. He's a very talented artist. He painted that from scratch. That's not how that came from a factory. They come gray. The color gray. No color at all. Gray, blank canvas for you to paint onto them. He did that. Maybe that's how he made his money. There's a lot of people who pay a lot of money for you to paint their Warhammer 40K figurines.
Like, ask her about why she didn't go, you know. Maybe I could have asked her. I should have asked her, but...
was Stephan at the party?
I doubt it.
Okay.
Yolanda did not like Stephan.
Yolanda is Jen's mom.
Jen's mom.
Okay.
She didn't
Any
like
idea why?
I want to know why now. I heard that like once over the years that she was a big fan of him, and I was like, oh, maybe it's just she didn't like a boyfriend, just, you know, you need time to warm up to him type of deal, and that was it. And now I'm hearing more and more she did not like him, she didn't trust him, and I want to know why. I want to ask her, like, what did you see that I missed? Because I don't want to miss this to another person. You know, somebody else around my daughter. I want to know what traits you see that I couldn't.
So Maddie makes it back to the house. I'll say condo, townhome, whatever it may be.
Yeah, the unit.
At some point that evening, Sunday evening, Stephan comes home because Jen asked him to come here to help because she's tired because of the new job.
That's the way I understand it. Yeah.
Have you ever heard of what the dynamic was? There's sleeping arrangements between Jen, Maddie, or Stephan throughout the years?
I honestly have been trying to figure that out myself. I understood that Maddie slept with Jen, and they had one room for a while, so my guess is they all slept in the same bed for a little while. I don't know when, how long, or any of that. Like, that's always bothered me. Maddie sleeping not in her own bed, starting elementary school, like, that to me is just like something a kid needs to do to self-soothe and grow to be individual and not have to rely on another person always being there. So that's always bothered me. And I've tried asking Jen about that over years and trying to encourage her, and it's just an argument. It's just a case that it's like, I'm never going to win. So why am I to keep poking at something?
Did Jen ever mention to you that, you know, she would need to get some sleep, so Maddie would either sleep in her room or sleep in somebody else's room or anything like that?
That happened during our relationship, but it wasn't another room. It was just like, oh, can we put the kids at my mom's tonight so we can have a night off?
Gotcha. Okay.
Because she would just need, like, we just has time to breathe and need space away from the kids. Like, okay, let's see, you know, we can do that. And we try and let them out, but it was different when I was there. Like, nobody slept in the bed with us, unless it was a nightmare. Like, that was my condition. And if she wanted space, then we would coordinate stuff with her family to go watch them.
I don't know what conversations you've had with Ashlyn since this has all happened. Has Ashlyn confided into you?
I've asked her a lot of questions, not try to be too pointed, but hopefully to get some stuff. Asked her, like, did he ever try and spend alone time with you, or try and just, like, hang out with you and Maddie alone when Jen wasn't around? Did Maddie ever talk about him, you know, specifically? Did she ever say anything positive or negative? But was there any point in time she wanted to specifically talk about him, like, in any way? Did you ever see a mood change? And so talking about it, and she was like, yeah, like the past couple of years, she's been like, they almost like stopped playing games because Maddie was just like destroying her stuff on Minecraft. And it was frustrating my daughter. And she was like, I'm done playing with her. And then I guess like a few months ago, she just started playing nice and started playing better.
She was acting out. She was traumatized. She was acting out. This is all signs, but you know, people don't always read the signs.
It's like I'm trying to think about this with the timeline. I'm trying to remember. I was like, is this when Jen kicked Stephan out of the house?
When was that?
I'm trying to remember when they separated. I'm trying to figure that date. Was that a few months ago? Is that when Maddie started lightening up and started feeling better and stopped being destructive to everybody around her? And did she start feeling like she could push back on this guy, you know, after being gone for a few months, and then this fucking happened? And
He was never really gone, though. That's the thing. I don't believe that he was ever really gone. He was spending weeks at a time. He was coming there, spending a day at a time. He constantly was returning, going back and forth to the house to get his mail. He was never really gone. So he wasn't there every day. I admit that, or rather not that I admit, I agree with that. I think that's plausible. He wasn't there every day. And maybe even just having a day or two of a reprieve without him around her was enough to lift her spirits. But if we really dig down deep into the conflicting statements that Jen Soto made, in all actuality, give me 1 second. I'm not going to edit that out. I'm sorry, guys, because I'm getting tired. In all actuality, she keeps letting it go and giving us more information that she wants to. And she keeps saying, well, yeah, he moved on December, but he came back for Christmas, and then he'd constantly come back for packages, and then he came back and we spent the day together, and da-da-da-da. It's almost like this guy never really left, to be honest with you. Guys, I'm going to stop the video here. We're almost at the hour mark. It's 56 minutes. I apologize for that. There's like 30 more minutes to his interview. I can always come back and do a part 2 and just finish it out. It's not as probative as some of the other interviews that we've done. It's some good information here, though, as well. And that's why it was limited commentary from me, because, listen, I don't just comment to comment. I comment when I have something to add. And if he's not saying something that's making my ears peak up, then there's not much for me to say. But I do think this was a really good interview. And I would definitely encourage you guys to go to GHI's site and watch the full video without my commentary. But I'll definitely come back and do a part 2 and finish off this interview and see if he says anything probative towards the end of his interview. At the 55-minute mark, because this particular video from GHI has both interviews. It has Steven's interview, and then it has Tyler's interview. At the 55-minute mark is when it transitions into Tyler's interview. So you get 2 for if you go over to his site and review this. I apologize to you guys today. I had a live scheduled earlier today at around 12:30. I had to cancel that live because I had insomnia last night and I couldn't sleep. And then I thought I'd be getting some rest today, but unfortunately I had an emergency I had to deal with. So I just got home just a little bit ago from that emergency. And it's 12:30 in the night, and now the lack of sleep that I had in the previous day is now catching up to me, and I still have to hop in the shower and get myself ready for bed. So I'm gonna call it a day today, guys. I really do appreciate you guys joining me. Whoever's gonna join me and watch this when I post it. This is not a live. This is a pre-produced video. Please like and subscribe, join the channel. Please share with your friends and family. Thank you so much for the support that we're now at 72,000 subscribers and counting. We're marching to 100,000. I want to get there. That's my goal. Once I get my plaque, I'm done. I'm not going to ask for anything more. I just want my YouTube silver plaque to say I've reached 100,000 subscribers. That'd be great to experience and to be able to share with my kids, because they watch YouTube too and they know exactly what that means to get that plaque. So guys, hit that like button. If you don't have anything pertinent to say or probative to say inside of the chat, just put where you live at. Say, I'm from Minnesota, I'm from Alaska, I'm from Africa. Show some love, help get us into that algorithm. I see you guys on the next one. Strategic is out of here. I'm so tired, I'm not gonna edit anything in this video. I'm just posting it. Peace.